The December 17th workshop is called to order at 6 p.m. We have a quorum with Mr. Rosales, Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Pearson, Mrs. McLean, Ms. Duenas, and myself, Connie Woodruff. We are expecting Mr. Haggerty to show up when he can. Secretary Duenas, will you please lead us in the pledges and a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Dr. Delatorre, do you have reports for the board?
Madam Chair, members of the board, we have 3 reports this evening. Without further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over to Ms. Brenda Chacon, Associate Superintendent, Elementary Education.
Good evening, Vice President Woodruff, members of the board, Dr. Delatorre. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Sue Thompson. She's a director of area to go over the Texas Academic Performance Report, other known as one of our acronyms as TAPER report, and she will review that for you tonight. Ms. Thompson?
Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, Dr. Delatorre. As we're moving to the next screen, because my person is going to the back, or you have it, I think, or no? No? It will show you the citations, the codes, that why we're here presenting and what we're required to do. And so you can see the family education, the FERPA Act, safe and drug-free schools, et cetera. Okay, what we will be talking about tonight, we'll do the academic performance, the district accreditation status, a little bit on the PEIMS financial reports, violent and criminal incident reports, or this is what all is in the performance report. School and violence prevention, we're not presenting all of this, but this is what you will have access to. Results from evaluations under the Safe and Drug-Free School Act, the class of 12-13, high school graduates' performance in higher ed, and the campus goals and performance objectives. You'll see at the end the website link where you can go to the actual entire report. That will give you all of that. Our academic performance, we have here, the blue is the state, the red is the region, and the yellow is the district. And this is at the phase-in, the level 2 satisfactory, the passing standard. And as you can see, we are above the state in reading, in math, in writing, in science, we're there, social studies. So we're doing a good job. These couple next tables, what we've done is compare our district with Socorro ISD, El Paso ISD in the state. And we've broken it out by subject and grade level. So if you look, the ones that are highlighted green, that's where we're the highest of all of these 3 that we're showing you. If we're highlighted in yellow, then we are lower than the state. We're not necessarily the lowest. For example, if you look at 7th grade reading, you will see we are at 75, the state is at 76. And then El Paso's at 71. And then if it's white, we're just kind of in the mix here. So you can see, especially in our EOC, which we go back, where we are outperforming the state and outperforming the 2 larger districts in our area on our high school EOC test, and of course. And then this is just focusing on ELL students. And you can see in the majority of grades and the majority of subject areas that our ELL students are outperforming both Socorro, El Paso, or all 3, and the state. What we have right now is a 2-year comparison of our content areas in grades 3 through 8. The blue is 14, the gold is 2015. You can see that we increased in reading. Actually, we increased in all 5 of those. You can see that there. And we also We increased in 4 of the 5 EOCs. The one we did not increase in with U.S. history, but we were at 95%. We went to 93%. It's very hard to, there's very little room in there to move, so that's still an outstanding job. But so that shows that we are making progress each year. This is the advanced level, the level 3, what used to be in the old days like commended. We just don't use that word anymore. It's at the very top, and that's our goal, to get all of our kids there. And again, we have the state, and then the region, and then the district. So in reading, you can see that we are above the region, but a little bit below the state. We're right there with the state in math. We're a little bit low on writing. Science, we're a little below the state, and we're just below the state in social studies. And that is our goal as on our instructional people that are working on that, is increasing the number of students each year that we're getting to that advanced level. Our goal is not to settle for just passing. So that's the kind of data that we're looking at. This is the met or exceed progress. Under the new accountability system, there's an index 2, which measures are kids making growth? Not just are they passing or not, but are they making progress from one year to the next? And so, again, looking at the state, the region, and the district, you can see that 58% of our students met progress in reading, 52% in math, 55% in writing, so we're right up there. And then the second side of it shows you exceeded progress, because there are 2 measures. Did they meet progress? And did they exceed the expected level of progress? And so that one is very important. We look at that one because students who are not passing need to not just be meeting progress, they really need to be exceeding progress so that down the line they will pass the test. And so we're running even with the region there. We're slightly ahead of the region in the state in math. We seem to be doing very well there. And writing, you can just see, is low for everyone. It's on the exceeding progress. Next, we're looking at the graduation rates. We have the 4-year graduation rate and the 5-year graduation rate. And looking again, state, region, and district, you can see that we're slightly above the state, slightly below the state, but above the region in our 4-year graduation rate. And graduation is always reported a year behind. So that's why you're looking at the class of 2013 and 14, however, not the class of 2015. And so, you can see that we're above the region, slightly below the state in all 3 of those. The 5-year graduation rate, we're really right there with the state. And what I look at the 5-year graduation rate as is, if we don't graduate you for some reason in 4 years, do we keep you in school and get you graduated that 5th year, rather than you just don't come back? Because that's what we want to do. If we can't graduate you in 4 for whatever reason, we want to keep you and get you graduated in that 5th year. The dropout rates were lower than, and actually we want to be lower on dropout rates as opposed to higher. It's kind of the golf score thing. You want to have the lower number is better. So we're actually below the state and the region in for the class of 2013. We're a little bit above the state and still below the region in all 4 of those, all 3 subjects. I keep going subjects. Years, I'm sorry, in there. The next one is looking at the percent of students that graduate recommended or DAP, under the recommended program or DAP. And our district does have a policy that for the, the students that have been coming through so far, because we haven't quite, I think this coming year we're reaching the endorsement class. So prior year graduates were required in most cases to graduate under recommended plan. And so there you can see for the class of 2012, we were at 94%, 93% in 13, and 94% in 2014. And go back one, please. And on the right, what you're looking at is the percent of our students enrolled in an advanced course or dual credit course. And we're doing, in 12, we've stayed very steady, 35%, 34% on that area. And I know we're already working, I think, on increasing those enrollments for the coming years. The PEAMS financial statement, standard report, what this one does is compares the district to the state, and basically it's telling you that for the district, 65% of our funds come from the state. And 14% of our funds are federal, 20% of our funds are local tax. And you can see the state their comparison there. The next one, the only thing I'm really going to focus on here, and you all can look at it at your leisure, because it breaks it down into little tiny things on where we spend our money. But the thing to note is 58% of our funds are spent on instruction, which is where we want them spent, not on other things. This is always my favorite one to do every year. We also are required to report on the violent and criminal incidents. And so these are the violent and criminal incidents, and what you see, the total incidents and the total students, because you can have more than one student involved in an incident, so the numbers aren't going to match. And what you're looking at here is what we had for last year. And so you can see, but if you notice, everything there is much less than 1% of our student population for violent and criminal incidents. On the next one, if you kind of keep the two together, this gives you a 2-year comparison of those. And you will see code number 4, which is, I have to bring my cheat sheet, is a felony, conduct punishable as a felony. You will see that we had a decrease. In 22, which is criminal mischief, and 26, which is criminal, terroristic threat, you can also see that we had a decrease. We had a slight increase in the assault areas, which are 27 and 28, but overall, we did have a decrease in the violent and criminal incidents, which is obviously something we're working on every year. The higher education performance of our students that graduate from our high schools. This one breaks it out by high schools, so you can find your learning community. And it gives you a 3-year, the class of 2011, 2012, and 2013. And it shows you the percent of students that are enrolled in a Texas institution of higher education, which can be a 2- or 4-year college or university. And so you can see that we've had some slight increases at Bel Air. I don't know why, some slight decreases at Eastwood. Hanks is staying fairly steady, and some slight decreases in Ysleta High School. But that's the percent of students that have gone on to enroll in a 2- or 4-year college. And I'm very quick. It's giving you the web page there that tells you where you can find the complete report with all those things I talked about, the objectives and goals and all of those things. Are there any questions? Yes, sir. Oh, not me. I'm sorry.
Enrollment, is that in the state of Texas or is that any school?
The majority, I believe that's coming mostly from the National Clearinghouse,
Okay.
which does do universities outside, however, not necessarily all universities
Right.
have to participate.
Okay.
So,
I've got a question. With regard to your most favorite,
my
chart
violent
here
and
on the
criminal
violence,
incidents.
do we have the information with regard to how the district compares to the state and the region on that one area?
You know, but we can put something together because there'll be a regional report of this and a district. And you know what, I'm really not quite finished. I have one more section we're required to report. But yes, we'll look at, we'll compare them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure, certainly. The last thing that we're required to present annually is our Student Success Initiative results. That is the 5th and 8th graders that are required, that have up to 3 opportunities to pass reading and math in order to be promoted. In 2015, because the math test changed for those grade levels, they were only required to pass reading. And so what we have here is of 2014, of the students that still needed to participate in the third administration, 88% of those students were scored. 8% had the parental waiver, which is basically the parent can come in and say, okay, this has been too traumatic on my child, I don't want them to test a 3rd time, and so they don't test. They don't pass, but they don't have to take the test a 3rd time. We had 1% absent, and the 3% other can be someone who got sick and left during the test. And that was 14. We went up to 92% of those scored in 2015. And again, those are just the students that needed to test in June for the summer. If we look at the third administration success rates, and I don't have them with me, but I'll tell you our rates are very, very comparable to the state. In grade 5, and this is only reading, we had 21% of the students that took the third administration that passed it, and 16% of the 8th grade that passed it. If we look at the overall, if we take all 3 administrations of that 5th and 8th grade, Overall, in 2015, our grade 5 reading was 88%, and our grade 8 reading was 85%. We did do a study of the data, and what it basically shows us, to condense this, is the intervention that our campuses and our teachers and everyone gives between the first and second administration is the most effective. And we have the higher percent of students passing the second administration. By the time you get to intervening between the second and third administration, unfortunately, it's showing very little impact. But like I said, I've seen, state scores that about 20, anywhere between 20 and 25% is the average to pass that third administration. It's not very high. And now I think I'm at the end.
I've got a question with regard to that. Do we have the actual numbers of the children that are taking the second test and the third test? Okay. Do we have that in our
I don't have it
information?
right now. I can get it for you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
And we can break it out by how many we're supposed to test versus how many did test, how many had a waiver, that type of thing.
Thank you.
Ms. Duenas, go ahead.
On page 25 and 26, is this for the math or for the reading? Or what is it for? On 25 and 26?
This is just reading. Because in normally it's math and reading. But what happened is the 3 through 8 math test was being revamped, and it was a new test in 2015, so they didn't hold the kids to the SSI standard for math. So what you're seeing here is we just took reading for both years, so it was comparable. Because 2015 only required them to pass reading.
And that's what it was in the past, right? So this year they added math?
This year, in 2016, they will be responsible for passing both reading and math.
Okay.
Correct, it comes back.
So both 25 and 26 for the reading?
What we have here, the 14 and 15, yes, it is just reading so that it's a comparable comparison.
That's on both 25 and 26?
Yes, ma'am.
How about 27? Is that the?
It's the same, because we only had reading for 2015. All the data that we also included for 2014, we wanted it to be equal, we wanted it to be to match. So it's all just reading.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Are there more questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Chair, members of the board, at this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Larg with the Studer Education Group. They've been working with us now for almost 18 months, and she's got some information to share with the board this evening. Dr. Larg?
Good evening, Board of Trustee members and Superintendent. It's my delight to be here. I want to tell you that, as I told someone, this time of the year and traveling to do work, this is kind of the thing you don't really want to do. But I always enjoy being in Ysleta Independent School District. The most gracious and wonderful people are here. And today has been that. And it's been such a great celebration with the leadership team, and then this evening with the superintendent's open house. The information that you just received on student achievement, oh my goodness, that is amazing. You all should be celebrating. What a way to end the year and begin another year. And so I'm going to share some information with you this evening as well. And if you remember the last time Janet and I were here, and Janet is usually my cohort in crime when I'm here, and she usually does the presentations to the board and was unable to be here this evening. But she spoke with you about the guiding tenets. We had worked with a group of staff members, teachers, administrators to develop the guiding tenets for the strategic plan for the district. We then took those guiding tenets, worked with that same group, and developed descriptors, we call them, of those guiding tenets to help people know, what does this mean in my everyday work in the district? And so that's what we did, and we have completed that. And actually, we sent that out in survey form to every employee in the district to give them an opportunity to provide input. We had about 1,100 employees reply to that survey, and about 85% ranked the guiding tenets descriptors as being truly important for the work of the Ysleta Independent School District. So we thought that was a really great thing. And I think what you have in your packet is something that has been created by your communications, right? Communications department as a way of really publicizing this to everyone, and we'll do some other things as well, but this is the beginning. And if you look at the descriptors, it really is the way you approach your work each day. So just did a great job. The committee members were terrific, and then the follow-through with the district has been equally as important, and we'll get that moving in the right direction. So that kind of wraps that up. We have also administered 2 surveys. And remember our execution flywheel, which is about the diagnose first. So where are we? Where are we beginning? So we have administered a baseline district support services survey. We want to share that information with you, and have also administered a baseline employee engagement survey. So that's what I want to share with you this evening. I just want to mention on the guiding tenets, it was really interesting with me today. I was working with the leadership, which principals, department leaders, and the executive team, and we were talking about rolling out the results of the employee engagement survey and some of the information that I'll share with you. And the items that came up around that were around trust, which is a significant part of these guiding tenets. It was also around doing the right thing at the right time in the right way, which is certainly very, very much a part of this. And then the last would be the collaboration, because that's what the rollout is about, collaboration of everyone. So we're going to celebrate, and we're also going to think about what are we going to do for improvement to keep all of our arrows moving in the right direction. So I want to start with the District Services Survey. This survey is administered twice a year. We ask campus leaders, principals and assistant principals, to assess the quality of the service they receive from the district departments. So it's that internal customer care that we're looking at. 147 campus leaders responded to that, which was good. The 5 quality characteristics that we assess are accessibility, can I reach a real person? Accuracy, do I get what I ask for? Attitude, is it service with a smile? And timeliness, do I get it at the time it was promised? And then operations, is it an efficient and effective experience with the department? So those were the areas of assessment. And I just want, this is a celebration. So the overall mean of the Ysleta Independent School District in the first administration was a 4.49 on a 5-point scale. Our goal for our partners is a 4.5. So look, that's amazing, amazing. And you can see each of the characteristics and the mean achieved in that particular characteristic across the district, all departments. And then we broke it down by division so that you could see the mean by division. And you can see all are very high, every division. And then this is what we call the benchmark slide. This, and it's not meant to compare you to other districts, but just to give you an idea of where you are performing in relation to our other partners. So you can see where Ysleta performed in the first administration of the District Services Survey with 10 other districts, and you are one of the top. That is such a celebration. And we celebrated today, and I encourage you to celebrate as well. So much to be proud of. Anybody have a question about that before I move to employee engagement?
Ms. Duenas?
Yes. Where you're comparing us to other districts, who are the other districts?
There are other partners. They're not necessarily the same demographics, same size, or anything. It's just 10 partners that we work with in the initial survey administration.
Within what, Texas City?
No, it wouldn't necessarily, the demographics are not the same, the place is not the same. The only thing common is the initial administration of the survey. Because this is not meant as a comparison, it really is just so you can kind of see where your performance level is with other districts that are on the same journey.
Are there other questions?
Okay, employee engagement. And this is the one that's really important, I think, or not more important, but important. This survey, we invite every employee in the school district to participate in this survey. The only person who does not participate is the superintendent, but everyone else is invited to participate. So the survey ran from November 9th to November 20th, and we had over 4,200 district employees complete the survey. And last night when I came in and worked with the associates, they had to do the calculations. That's about 67%, which is pretty amazing, especially the first time out. And as they pointed out, and I agree, it has to do with that trust factor and feeling that the information they give will be treated with respect. So I think that is just very commendable.
Are we reading the same thing that we've got on the screen? Or is this something different?
What you're looking at is the district services support report, results report.
Where? On the
In your
notebook?
packet,
In the
in your packet.
Or
What you're looking at on the screen are some slides focused on the employee engagement survey. This is the formative assessment. We'll do this one. We're going to do some work in improvement, and then there will be a summative assessment in the spring, and that's when you would get that report.
Okay, because I'm a little bit confused. I don't know about the other boy. I see them trending pages. I don't know, but I'm a little bit confused around with explaining the situation to us a little bit better, because we're looking at here and we're looking over here, and it doesn't.
I'm sorry. So the district services, the first one that we talked about with the 5 characteristics of quality, that's the report that you have in your packet. The employee engagement just came out. We wanted to share the results with you, but the report is not in your packet. Okay? So I'm sorry. Didn't mean to be confusing. So this is the employee engagement report. All employees were invited to participate in the survey. So this chart that you're looking at on your screen is a part of the results report that we provide to the district. And these are the 14 items that are on the employee engagement survey. If you look at the column to the right of the items, you will see the mean score for each item, and then the overall mean for the school district, which is a 4.08. Then in the farther column to your right is the percentile rank. He wants me to use this laser, and I'm afraid if I start doing this, it'll go. Okay. So this is the percentile rank, and what that tells you is where you rank with the other partners we work with. We work with about 23 partners, and so your overall district mean is puts you in the 81st percentile. So you are higher, your overall mean is higher than 81% of the folks we work with. That makes sense?
Excuse me, so we're comparing ourselves from the 81%?
Yes.
We're at 83.
You're in the 81st percentile.
I see, okay.
Yes, sir. In the overall mean, the overall score. The item that I want you to pay attention to, though, is item number 14. And item number 14 says, if given a choice, I would recommend that a parent select this district for his or her child. And remember that this is taken by all employees of the Ysleta Independent School District. This is really a loyalty item. Shall I wait a minute? Yep,
Can
no
you
problem.
please just bear with us?
No problem. No, hey, he wants me to use the laser, and I'm a little concerned about that, so I'm with you. Okay, we good? All right, so let's start again on the chart, just so we can be certain that everybody is clear. So these are the 14 items that are listed on the employee engagement survey. Every employee has an opportunity to respond from 1 to 5, 5 being strongly agree, 1 being strongly disagree. So that's the range. And you can see that the overall district mean is a 4.08. That's in that first column at the bottom. And then the percentile rank, again, helps you understand where the performance level of the district is in relation to the other districts that we are working with that are going through the same journey. And so you are higher than 81% of the other districts that we work with. Yes?
Just one quick question. With regard to these questions, are we comparing this question to the first time that those other organizations answered those questions? Or
Great
is it?
question.
Yes, no?
It's the total database. Because in order to get a percentile rank, you have to have a very large database to be confident that you're giving good information. So it is all of the responses. The item that I really think the board should pay close attention to, and we spent a good deal of time talking about it with leaders this morning, is item 14, and that's that would I recommend the district to a parent. That is truly about the loyalty of an employee to the district that they work, where they work, but it also says the people in your district believe this is a great place for a child to come for an education and for families to bring their children. So this is such a commendation for the work that you do every day. So that's one of those things that you should really appreciate. The mean is a 4.42, but that places you in the 97th percentile. Amazing, amazing. Yes, ma'am.
Regarding on, with this morning's meeting, who did you meet with?
It's called the leadership team. It's campus leaders and department leaders and the executive team.
So that would be the principals?
Yes, ma'am.
From every school?
Yes.
I've got one other quick question.
Yes.
So question 14.
Yep.
So the other organizations, given that there may or may not be school districts, how are those
They're all
questions?
school districts.
Oh, they're
It's
all school districts?
Yes.
Just
Yes.
not necessarily,
Right, that's correct.
all right, thank you.
I also have a question on number 5,
Yes.
and it's 4.09 and then 42% right. That's fairly low. Is that low?
That's one of those areas where we want to improve. And so we spent some time talking about what that might look like. What we did training on was the results rollout process, which helps leaders then go out and have continuing conversation with the folks who completed the survey to say, what do we need to do differently? What's going to make a difference? Or perhaps to say, what do we already do we need to continue to do? And then what are some additional things?
And then I'm a little confused on number 7, it's 3.89, which seems lower, but it's 73rd percent rank.
So what that tells you is that typically is a lower ranked item in almost every district. And it's one of those areas where we struggle. And if you have ever supervised people, that is always a struggle, I think.
So that's in comparison to other places that the 73% is not so bad.
Correct. That's right.
Any other questions? Mr. Ramirez?
Yeah.
On the, on those issues there that tend to be lower, were they given the opportunity to make written remarks or to provide written remarks?
It's a great question. There were 3 open-ended questions on the survey. What is working well? What could we improve? And then is there anyone you'd like to recognize for good work? So those 3 open-ended questions will go to the leaders, the responses to those questions, and they provide a context for looking at the numbers, just as you're suggesting. Yes, sir.
I think it's important for the board to know that each school, each individual school has this chart. And that while the average may be this particular number, you'll have some schools that did far, far better in area 4, 5, 6, or 7, and others that may be closer to this mean. But one of the things that they have to do is they have to look at it in the context of the work that they're doing. So for example, if you're a principal and you've been asked to go into a school that was low performing for a number of years and turn it around, you could be initiating significant change on that campus. Change is something that sometimes creates anxiety, and so what you get back is you get that anxiety in the form of probably a lower rating. Whereas if some principals have been at a school for a long period of time and that school has enjoyed a great deal of success and they've developed camaraderie, they may get higher rating, but in the aggregate, it appears to be a 3.89 relative to how the district is doing district-wide. So what we're doing is we're using this as a tool for our principals to really take a look at your individual school and to reflect on whether or not there's merit and is it valid. And even if you don't believe it is, if you think about it long enough, it is, because that's what your staff is telling you. And whether it's a perception or misperception, you need to really think about how you're going to address it. So the advice that we gave principals was, first thing, you should thank everybody that participated on your faculty and staff, because feedback is a gift. And whether you like it or you don't like it, it's important because it's the only way that we're going to grow or that you're going to grow as a leader. The second thing is you have to be responsive to it and let them know that you value their feedback and that you do plan to look at it and consider some opportunities to improve in areas where you may have not performed as high as you'd like to perform. And then you're to get together with your leadership team, put together, I don't want to call it a corrective action plan, but a plan for what you plan to do from January until April, because they have to do this survey again in April to see whether or not we're moving that needle.
Right. So that,
I have a question. So how do you know what schools are lacking and what schools are or if is it in writing, or is it just verbally? Is it just, how is it that we can see that it actually is working and not just verbally meeting with all these people and bringing things that look nice to us, but we need to know how exactly you're rating them. Is it paper or just verbally, or exactly how do you get all this?
Okay, let me say one thing, and Dr. De La Torre was very helpful, so I appreciate his remarks. Remember that this is a growth system, so it's not a penalty, it's not a judgment about where people begin. The judgment comes when do you take every opportunity to grow and create that best place to work, because that's what this survey is measuring, creating that best place to work. So they did, as Dr. De La Torre said, each school received their report, their chart like this, that was specific to their school. What they're asked to do then is go back and roll out those results to their staffs, department staff, school staff, and create an action plan based on the input they receive from their staff. Then what we will, and they'll implement that action plan. And we talked about ways to progress monitor the action plan. And then what will happen in April is we will do another survey to see if indeed there has been progress or if there is an adjustment that needs to be made additionally. So it is a growth mindset. I want you to understand that. This is not a judgment or a penalty phase of any kind, but it's an opportunity for leaders to get feedback from the folks they work with every day, and then to use that feedback for improvement. Did I answer your question?
Except for just one little part.
Okay.
Ms. Duenas was wondering by what means did we collect their opinion? And so what they would have seen on their computer, and it was anonymous, was they would read this and they'd give it a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
On whose computer?
On the teacher's personal computer. So
Right.
they'd log on, they'd go in, they'd have these 14 questions, they'd
I
read,
see.
my principal supervisor provides me with good processes and resources to do my job. A 1 would be never.
So actually, it's in the computer, the system is in the computer?
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
it goes to the principal?
No, it goes to them.
No, we manage all of the data.
Oh.
So we manage the survey, we analyze the data, we provide the reports back. I'm
Oh, okay.
sorry. Does that make sense? Better? Sorry. Sorry. Anyone else?
Are there more questions?
Okay. So I did want to show you this. I think this is, again, significant. So as Dr. De La Torre pointed out, it's a 5-point scale that goes from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And if you notice in this pie chart, 77% of the responses were agree or strongly agree. So what we want to do is to shift some of that 14% that is in neutral over to the agree, and some of those that are in agree over to strongly agree. So that's our work from now until April, and that's what that action plan should do. So I wanted to show you this by level, not that it's just helpful. So this shows you by level what the mean score, the aggregate mean for those levels. It's remarkable that middle schools have the highest mean. That is pretty remarkable. I will also say high schools, that 3.94, that's pretty high for high schools. Most high schools tend to be around a 3.8, 3.85, something like that. So just to kind of give you an idea of where everyone is. And as some folks like to point out, those high school people, you know, they don't like anything, so. So what's next? So the reason we did the training today, so what's happening with the district survey results, that is the quality of service from district departments. Department leaders are rolling that information out to their staffs and talking about what's the one thing we can do to improve the service we provide. So really looking at those results and how do we improve. The employee engagement, every leader in the district will work with their staffs, ask for additional input, create that action plan, and move to improvement by April. So all of those rollouts, action plans will be completed by January 28th. That's the plan. So that's what's next. But I want you all to thank Santa Claus, because, I mean, this is a great district. Looking at your student achievement and then this, you have so much to celebrate, so much.
Are there any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mrs. Woodruff, I've got a question for the superintendent. So now we've received the results from Sue's department, and we've seen the results from here. Where do we go? I mean, what is the plan now to take that information and put it into a plan where we're going to address the areas that are deficient? And it's always I guess, I'm always looking for improvement, right? And I think that, we always need to take time to, say the attaboys and make sure that we recognize the good job that everybody's doing. But, and I always tend to skip that part. I always want to go to what's next, what are we doing, what are we going to improve, what's the plan? So if you can kind of just enlighten us on.
Well, the plan is to continue and adhere to the goals that this board established for the superintendent and for the leadership, both at the district office as well as in our schools. Those goals won't change because those goals are part of a 5-year plan. And what we've embarked on is something that is a very objective, a quantitative matrix or measurement that speaks for itself in the form of numbers. These numbers now become our baseline. This is sort of the starting point, whether it's academics or whether it's the employment engagement survey or what people think about the district office. These results will be presented to the board as part of a response to an evaluation instrument that was developed based on those 5 goals and objectives. We are aware that, that there's, in our business, there's a what have you done for me lately environment, and that is that you don't become complacent, you don't celebrate, you appreciate what we've heard tonight, but we understand that, for example, at the advanced level in academics, it's pretty pathetic that we're talking about 16% and 18% advanced level. And so that's an area that this administration has been really more concerned with than the actual pass rate or meet standard rate. What we want to do is we want to see the advance rate grow. So what we hope to do is when we revisit the surveys at the end of the year, that you'll see improvement by department, by school, district-wide relative to service excellence. I think we've addressed one big goal that this board set out for the superintendent and for his staff, and that was to secure resources to address our facilities need. I think you'll find that relative to a minimum increase of 2% in a number of areas, I think this administration and our terrific principals and instructional leaders have met that goal, but all that means is now there's another goal. And what we need to do is take this information, reassemble, and say, okay, this is nice, and it feels good, and 2015 has been a good year for this school district. The standard is going to be increased next year. What do we have in place? The one thing I don't think you can expect to get from us in the near future is any more in-the-box initiatives like, we've got the Imagine Learning in place, we've got the iStation in place, we're doing instructional rounds in our schools, we've increased the number of instructional specialists in our schools, we've got the master's program that promotes dual credit eligibility for our teachers, we've got probably more initiatives than we need. The last piece will be coming to the board later this spring as we try to implement a comprehensive online curriculum for our teachers, and then that should round out the package, and that's what used to be called Cisco, but has been significantly improved. We think we can buy it at cost neutral. In other words, we can make enough reductions in other areas where we can demonstrate to this board that $300,000 that we're spending to have access to a curriculum that's being developed by curriculum writers who do it as a career and as a profession, rather than asking our instructional specialists and teachers to continue and try to keep up with the state, will provide that last piece for our teachers where they can go online and immediately know what they should be teaching and also get resources as to how they should be teaching it. From this point on, it's about rolling up your sleeves as a principal and an instructional leader and spending a great deal of time in the classroom and treating teachers like your new class of students and helping them grow in their craft. And I'm confident that just with the little things that we've introduced, we've seen, I think, some pretty significant improvement over 2014, and it really hasn't been embraced entirely yet. When that becomes part of who we are, you're going to see less 2%, 3%, 4% increases, and you're going to start seeing, in my opinion, 5%, 8% increases across the board, and it will become part of our system. So to answer your question, it's about going back and putting together a corrective action plan for all of the areas that we just reviewed. The celebration has to be very short because it's time to go back to work, and we hope and we're confident that when May comes around and you look at the second set of surveys, that you'll be able to take this information and look at it and be able to make a comparison that says they're headed in the right direction. I will say that at present, we felt like the scores by individual school, that out of respect for our principals and their instructional leadership, that they should have the opportunity to really look at them first. But they all know that by May, you're going to want to see them as well. So we're treating this like a formative assessment. We're not putting all of their information out there. This is their opportunity to look at it, convene, come up with a plan. When we come back in the spring, we will share the summative results, and you'll likely get to see where they were now and how far they've come in 4 months. Because I think if we go and insist on looking at their test scores now, it will be interpreted as punitive, and I'm embarrassed, and there's no value added to doing it now. What would be wrong would be not to react to it and make improvements. So with your permission, that's why we didn't provide each and every school to you, because the natural tendency is to want to compare and look at them and wonder whether or not leadership is doing enough there. Let's give them an opportunity. Let's give them the next 3-4 months to react to that and hopefully come back and show that they've made some improvements. And then at that point, it's wide open.
I think that's a great plan. Let me just ask you, how is the celebration part? Because I think I'm interested in finding out what it is we're doing to celebrate the wonderful successes that were presented here to us today.
Well, we had them all morning, and we really did honor them, and we honored their work, and there wasn't anyone, whether it was a department leader or whether it was a school leader, who left feeling that they weren't valued and that they weren't respected as a leader or as a leader in a developing leader. We wanted to make sure that they understood that. We also wanted to make sure that you get a great deal of autonomy in this district. The difference between our leadership model and maybe previous leadership models is that it's autonomy with accountability. You get as much autonomy as you earn, right? But that we really believe in all of them. There may be some principals who may decide that this kind of pressure, these kind of expectations may not be for them. That's something that they're going to have to decide. But what we told them was, don't kill a fly with an axe. Look at the data, put it away, go for a run, enjoy the holidays, come back, look at it again, and what you'll find is that there's probably some merit, some truth to some of the things that hurt the most. And no harm, no foul. Put together a plan. The worst thing you can do is, paralysis analysis. You analyze something so long that you don't do anything. Just get your team together and do something that you think is going to improve it. It doesn't have to be by, 10 percentage points or 20 percentage points. Just get going in the right direction. And again, look at it in the context of what you've been handed to lead, because the schools can be very different based on a number of variables. So I think that they all know today, and I think they all feel very good about the direction that the district is headed. I think they're respected, they're well-regarded. We don't demean, we don't demote, we don't reassign the first time that, we fail to meet a goal. And we'll keep operating that way. Dignity and respect, I think, is a very important guiding principle and one of our tenets, and that's the way we'll operate. And should the day come when we think we may need to make a change, we'll come to the board and say, here's the data, here's what we believe would help that situation, and then at that point we'd make a decision. But I've never been cavalier with people's jobs or their leadership roles. They deserve the same opportunity as anyone else to try and improve. But for the most part, they're all working very hard.
I have a comment or just a question too. You do offer them any help that they would need to, through training or whatever else that they might need to move their school forward?
That's a great question. In addition to the principals having that data, obviously, Ms. Chacon, Ms. O'Neill, Mr. Basurto, and Dr. Kennedy have their information. And when we get back from the holidays, they'll start at those ratings that seem to be the most critical. And if they haven't already, we ask to meet with them. We ask them to have that dialogue with them, that cognitive coaching with them. And then the number one question is, in what way can we support your work, or is there a resource that you need that you're not being provided right now? Because what accountability is about, it isn't about holding someone accountable. Accountability really is an agreement between two parties that if I provide you this, you're telling me we're going to get this, but I have to provide you this. So they'll get together with them and say, what is it that you think is holding you back from performing better in this area or performing better in that area? And then they need to have that dialogue. They need to enter into what I call a covenant in terms of what I'm going to provide you as a resource, which is what the central office or a district service center should do. And in turn, what can we expect to get from you in your leadership relative to academic achievement, culture, climate at your school? And once we reach that understanding, what you'll find oftentimes is a principal will know when they're incapable of delivering, and they will self-select out, hopefully to Socorro or El Paso. Just, is this being recorded? Oh, I was just kidding, guys. No, but we will have a lot of conversations in the month of January, because by the 28th they have to give these guys a plan.
Are there any more questions or comments?
The only one I'm seeing here, but is I'm trying to read this table, is from table 5 through table 9, where it says very good, good, average, poor, very poor, NA, invalid.
Mm-hmm.
What numbers are those?
So these 141 people that answered the question, 141, 118 said they're very good, 17 said they're good, 4 said they're average, and 2 of these 141.
Oh, I see, okay. So this is all, actually, it's all the campuses, it's not one, right? It's not one school at a time, it's all of them together, the whole district?
Yes, because they're looking at us up here.
Okay.
But there's one like that for each of the schools.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Ramirez?
I just did my speed reading of this report, and I'd just like to congratulate Dr. Latorre and the associates. He scored well. He scored well, so overachievers, nicely done. So
It's them. Assembled a great team.
Ms. McLean?
I do want to say, we've got the 2 new trustees that have not been with us as we've been working with the Studer Group. This is feet above what we used to get as far as information with all of this asking of the employees and getting the responses. We used to get a year-end one that really didn't tell me much. So this is wonderful that it's an ongoing process and that there's the corrective action that wasn't part of it before. So actually, this is such a wonderful tool for us, and it's worked very, very well. They've worked with us and kind of combined not just that aspect of it, but the superintendent's evaluation, the goals for the district, and just made it all one process that is all interconnected and supporting the different areas, and they're all working towards the same goal, which one of these days I need to bring by the last goals that we had that was a book about this thick, and it took a room full of people months to do, and then at the end of the process, I never knew what happened to, that whole exercise. It was wonderful goals and a lot of good ideas and wonderful people that were involved, but you didn't see the complete circle, and you're seeing that here, and that, I still am very thankful to Mrs. Reyes, who was the one that brought this company, the Studer Group, to the attention of the board. So this is wonderful. So thank you, everybody.
I like to say that also it's really neat to see the before, how we are right now, and I can't wait to see what it's going to end like. To me, that's really neat.
My only comment, thank you for not bringing your report, but being a new member, I'm just soaking all this in because I think the next report will give us a clear indication. But I appreciate your comments because I usually have a comment, but I'd just rather soak it in. And I feel good, though, and you guys ought to feel good, too. We're doing a great job. Thank you, Dr. De La Torre.
No, they're great. They're great.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
I don't think it's any secret that for the last 18 months, I've been consumed with, our facilities and our challenges around facilities, and it was, I think, great to know that I could leave a lot of the academic conversation to Ms. O'Neill, Brenda, Dr. Kennedy, Pat, and Robert Basurto, and know that this was going to be the result. And I think it comes from working with them, and I've known Brenda since she was an instructional specialist. I've known Pat since he was a boy. That's not true. He knew me when I was a boy. But thank you. They are great.
Do we have any more comments?
Oh, you mean the best place to work survey? It's something that we're talking about. In talking to the principals, they got so much more out of this than they ever got out of that survey, and that survey is about a $14,000 survey. So what I would suggest is that we keep doing this every 6 months, and it gives us a barometer, and I think people feel more comfortable filling it out. We had 4,600 and some employees fill out the survey. That's never happened before. But ultimately, it's up to you.
Mr. Pearson?
And also the best place to work. I mean, all that blue was pretty, but it really wasn't reality. I mean, I'd have more people complaining to me about what's going on at school, and I'd say, well, look at this. It looks great. So gee.
Yeah, that used to be our answer to everything, huh?
Yeah.
No, things are great, look.
Right. Ms. Duenas?
So how often is this going to be? Every 6 months? Or?
Every 6 months.
So we should be getting, this is the beginning, the first one, right? And we're going to get one at the end of the year, or?
You'll get both of these again in May, June. So keep them, so in case you want to refer back to, but we'll probably add a column that will show this is what it looked like in December of 2015. This is what it looks like in May of 2016, so you can quickly look.
So, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we will adjourn at 7:04. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Christmas to all of you.
Christmas.
We have some things for all of you before you go from me and the cabinet. And we'll get that for you. And are you all running off to see Star Wars with Shane? Are you? Oh, yeah, I've got 2 tickets. The white.